The knife sliced through the air like a whisper of betrayal, catching the dim streetlight on its edge before it plunged toward my throat. You think you can just walk away from me, Nicholas? After everything? Brandon's voice cracked like thunder in the rain-soaked alley, his eyes wild with the kind of love that had twisted into something feral. I twisted away just in time, the blade grazing my collarbone, hot blood blooming on my shirt as the world narrowed to the man I'd once called home, now hellbent on ending me. San Francisco had always felt like a dream wrapped in fog, the kind where you could reinvent yourself under the Golden Gate's shadow. I come here 15 years ago, a wide-eyed kid from Ohio clutching a duffel bag and a secret that burned in my chest. I was gay, and I was done hiding. The city swallowed me whole, its rainbow flags fluttering like promises, its bars pulsing with bass that drowned out the echoes of my father's disappointed sighs back home. That's where I met Brandon, in a Castro dive called the Mint, nursing a whiskey sour while he slung drinks behind the bar, his tattooed arms flexing under the neon glow. He was everything I wasn't, rough around the edges, with a laugh that could shatter glass and eyes like smoked quartz that saw right through you. "What's a pretty boy like you doing looking so lost?" he'd said that first night, sliding a free shot my way. I told him about the farm life I'd fled, the prayers that felt like chains. He leaned in close, his breath warm against my ear. "Here, we don't pray for forgiveness. We live for it." By closing time, we were tangled in the sheets of his walk-up apartment overlooking the bay, the city lights blurring into stars as he mapped my body like uncharted territory. Our love was a wildfire, fierce, all-consuming, the kind that scorches everything in its path. Brandon worked odd jobs, bartending, bouncing at clubs, fixing bikes in a Haight-Ashbury garage when the tips dried up. I threw myself into graphic design, freelancing from coffee shops in the Mission, sketching logos that captured the city's chaotic pulse. We built a life in fits and starts. Lazy Sundays at Dolores Park, picnics with cheap wine and stories of our scars. His from a junkie dad who'd split when he was 12, mine from the church youth group that outed me with whispers and fists. But cracks spiderwebbed early. Brandon's temper was a live wire, sparked by the smallest things, a late night at work, a glance from a stranger that lingered too long. "You're mine, Nick," he'd growl after a fight, pulling me back into bed with apologies that tasted like salt and regret. I told myself it was passion, that the bruises faded faster than the highs. We talked marriage once, under the influence of too much tequila on our 3rd anniversary. "Yeah, someday," he murmured, tracing the ring finger on my hand. But someday stretched into years, and then Alex came along. Adopting him was my rebellion against the emptiness gnawing at us. A chubby-cheeked bundle from the foster system, 3 years old with eyes like polished chestnuts and a laugh that could melt glaciers. "He needs us," I pleaded when Brandon balked at the paperwork. "We need him." Reluctantly, he signed on, and for a while, it worked. Alex called him Bwandon, toddling after him on stubby legs, and Brandon's face softened in ways I'd never seen. We'd push him on swings at Golden Gate Park, the 3 of us a picture of makeshift family, fog rolling in like a soft blanket. Yet the darkness lingered. Brandon's jealousy festered, especially after I landed a steady gig at a tech startup in Soma, pulling in enough to cover the rent on our cramped Victorian. "You're changing, Nick." Suits and spreadsheets. Where's the guy who danced with me in the rain? He'd accuse me of flirting with clients, of drifting toward the polished world he couldn't touch. Fights escalated. plates shattered against walls, his fists clenched so tight I could hear the knuckles crack. I started sleeping with one eye open, whispering to Alex at bedtime that Daddy loved him more than the stars. The night he tried to kill me, it had boiled over from a stupid argument. I'd come home late from a team-building happy hour, tipsy and glowing from easy banter with colleagues. Brandon was waiting in the kitchen, bottle of Jack half empty on the counter. Who was it this time? That blonde prick from accounting. His voice slithered low. Dangerous. I laughed it off. Big mistake. Words flew like shrapnel. My ambition was betrayal. His rage was justified. He grabbed my wrist, twisting until I yelped, and then we were out the door, down the fire escape into the alley behind our building, the city indifferent to our unraveling. You don't get to leave me for them, he snarled, the knife appearing from God knows where, a kitchen tool he'd pocketed in his fury. I fought back, knee to his gut, elbow to his jaw, tasting copper as his fist connected with my lip. The blade whistled past my ear, then my neck, nicking flesh that burned like accusation. Time fractured. I saw Alex's face in my mind, his tiny hand in mine at the adoption hearing. Brandon's smile from our first date, unscarred by doubt. Please, I gasped, dodging another swipe. Think of the kid. That stopped him, just for a second. His arm trembled, the knife hovering like a guillotine. Then sirens wailed in the distance. Someone in the building must have heard the commotion. He dropped the blade, eyes clearing to horror. Nick! Oh God! What did I? But I was already scrambling back, blood slick on the pavement, bolting for the street. He didn't follow. The cops came, statements blurred into numbness, and by dawn, Brandon was gone, arrested, then bailed by some old army buddy, vanishing into the ether like smoke. I filed the restraining order from the ER, stitches pulling as I signed. Alex woke that morning asking for Guandon, and I held him tight, murmuring lies about trips and coming homes. Therapy sessions piled up, unpacking the abuse I'd normalized, the love I'd mistaken for fate. The city felt smaller now, its vibrancy muted. I quit the startup for freelance stability, working from home so I could be there when Alex got off the bus from kindergarten. His new school in No Valley, a fresh start with rainbow cross streets. Months blurred into a fragile routine. Alex drew pictures of us as superheroes, me with a cape labeled Daddy Nick, him with laser eyes. Where's Guandon? He'd ask sometimes, crayon pausing mid-stroke. I'd swallow the lump in my throat. He's on a big adventure, buddy. But we're his favorites, right? He'd nod, fierce and trusting, and we'd bake cookies shaped like bridges, the oven's warmth chasing shadows. But San Francisco has a way of circling back, like the cable cars that grind up endless hills only to descend again. It started with a postcard, postmarked from Reno, a desert sunset, no return address. Inside, Brandon's scrawl, I'm sorry. Getting help. For him. For you. I burned it in the sink, watching flames lick the edges, but the ash settled heavy in my chest. Then, one crisp October afternoon, Alex burst through the door after school, backpack thumping to the floor. Daddy, guess what? I saw Guandon at the park. My heart seized, fork clattering against the plate. The park, our park, where we'd picnicked a lifetime ago. What do you mean? Saw him. I knelt, searching his beaming face for tricks of the light. He was playing soccer with some kids. Said hi to me. Gave me this. He fished a crumpled business card from his pocket. Brandon Hale, Youth Mentor, Ceph Rec Center. My blood ran cold, then hot. The restraining order was ironclad. He wasn't supposed to be within a mile. But Alex's eyes sparkled, untouched by the history etched in my scars. He misses us, Daddy. Said so. I hugged him close, inhaling the scent of playground dirt and innocence. But inside, the alley replayed in loops, the glint of steel, the raw edge of mine. Brandon was back, not as a ghost, but a shadow creeping toward the light we'd clawed for ourselves. And as much as I wanted to bolt the doors, a traitorous part of me wondered if forgiveness wore the face of the boy in my arms. That night, I lay awake in the queen bed that still smelled faintly of Brandon's aftershave, the sheets twisted like accusations. Alex snored softly in his room down the hall, oblivious to the storm I'd stirred by tucking him in with extra stories. I stared at the ceiling fan's lazy spin, replaying the day's fracture. How had he found us? The rec center was blocks away, a hub for after-school programs in the Excelsior diverse, gritty, the kind of place where ex-cons rebuilt lives coaching Pee-wee leagues. Brandon, mentoring kids, the irony twisted like a knife in old wounds. By morning, resolve hardened. I called my lawyer first, voice steady as I recounted the encounter. Paperwork's airtight, she assured, but document everything. No direct contact. Then the police, filing a violation report that felt like shouting into fog. Finally, the school. Alex's teacher promised to watch for strangers, her tone laced with the quiet sympathy of a city weathered by second chances. I drove Alex to the bus stop myself that day, windows down to let in the eucalyptus breeze, radio humming indie folk to fill the silence. You excited for art class? I asked, ruffling his hair. He nodded, but his eyes darted to the park across the street, where joggers blurred past. Yeah. But can we go see Bwandon after? Please. My grip tightened on the wheel. Not today, champ. Rules, remember, like how we don't eat candy before dinner. He pouted, but it faded into a grin when the bus honked. Watching him climb aboard, backpack bouncing, I felt the weight of fatherhood anew. Not just protector, but architect of truths too big for small shoulders. Back home, I buried myself in work, tweaking a logo for a queer-owned bookstore in the Haight, emails pinging like distant thunder. But focus splintered. Every notification jolted me, half expecting a mugshot or a plea. The call came at noon, my phone buzzing with an unknown number. I let it ring twice before curiosity won. Nicholas? It's Marcus, from the center. The voice was warm, baritone, laced with a southern drawl that evoked magnolias and regret. Marcus Hale, Brandon's older brother, the army vet who'd bailed him out that fateful night. We hadn't spoken since the arrest, but his number lingered in my contacts like a scar. Look, I know this is messy, he started, words tumbling careful. Brandon told me about the run-in. He's been clean 6 months, NA, therapy, the works. Volunteering at the rec to stay straight. I paced the kitchen, linoleum cool under socks. Messy? He violated the order. Marcus. My son, our son, is not a prop in his redemption arc. A pause, heavy with unspoken history. Marcus and I had bonded once, over late-night barbecues and shared wariness of Brandon's storms. I get it. Hell, I'd kill him myself if it came to that. But Alex, kid's got a light in him. Brandon sees it, same as you. He's not pushing, just wants a shot to make amends. From afar, I hung up without promising anything, heart hammering. Amends. The word mocked me, conjuring images of alley grime and ER fluorescence. Yet doubt wormed in, what if Alex needed this bridge? However rickety, I shoved it down, opting for action, a walk to the corner market for milk and distraction. The streets thrummed with life. Ticarius spilling cumin-scented air. Murals of fierce queens in flowing gowns adorning brick walls. San Francisco, ever the healer, wrapped me in its pulse. Weeks ground on in wary rhythm. I screened Alex's stories, redirecting playground chatter to Legos and cartoons. But the boy was a sponge, absorbing the city's undercurrents. One evening, as we assembled a puzzle of the Bay Bridge at the dining table, he piped up, "Daddy, why'd Bwandon go away? Was I bad?" The pieces scattered from my numb fingers. I pulled him onto my lap, the chair creaking under us. "No, buddy. Never. Grown-up stuff. Sometimes love gets bumpy, like a bad road. But we fixed it by making our own path. You and me against the world." He nestled closer, thumb worrying the puzzle edge. "I miss bumpy roads." With him, my throat closed. Kids don't lie, they just slice clean. I kissed his forehead, tasting salt from unspoken grief. That night, I drafted an email to Marcus. Supervised visits only. Neutral ground. One chance. Hitting send felt like exhaling after a dive too deep. The first meeting was set for a Saturday at the Japanese Tea Garden in Golden Gate Park. Public. Serene. Koi ponds murmuring peace. I arrived early, staking a bench near the pagoda, Alex fidgeting beside me with a juice box. "What if he doesn't like my new shoes?" he fretted. Sneakers scuffed from recess kicks. I squeezed his hand. "He'll love him." Just like always, Brandon appeared on the dot, striding the gravel path like he owned the fog. Leaner than I remembered, jaw shadowed with intense stubble, dressed in chinos and a button-down that strained against his build, effort at normalcy. No leather jacket, no ghosts in his eyes. He stopped 10 feet away, hands jammed in pockets, waiting for my nod. I gave it a jerk of permission, and Alex bolted, wrapping arms around Brandon's legs with a whoop that echoed off the willows. They played, chasing dragonflies by the pond, Brandon hoisting him for peacock views, laughter bubbling unforced. I watched from afar, a sentinel in the shade, notebook open but untouched. Marcus had prepped him. No hugs for me, no promises, just kid time. Yet when Alex waved me over for ice cream, "Daddy, Bwandon's treatin'," the proximity crackled. Close. Brandon's scent hit me. Soap and faint cedar, unchanged. Our eyes met, his raw with plea. "Thanks for this," he murmured, low enough for only me. "I know I don't deserve. Save it." I cut in, voice steel over the ache. "This is for Alex. Not us." He nodded, swallowing hard, and turned back to the boy, teaching him to skip stones across the water. Ripples spread, distorting reflections, a metaphor too on the nose for my liking. As autumn deepened, the visits strung into fragile thread. Coffee shop handoffs in the Mission, where baristas with pierced brows pretended not to notice the tension. park picnics with PB and JS and frisbees, Brandon arriving with stories of his Reno days, welding gigs in the desert, nights staring at stars that reminded him of our rooftop talks. Alex thrived, sketches evolving from stick figures to vibrant trios. Us three, capes billowing in crayon winds. But undercurrents stirred. One drizzly afternoon, post-zoo outing, Brandon lingered at the car. Rain pattered on the hood like impatient fingers. "Nick, can we talk? Just 5 minutes." Alex was buckled in the back, headphones on, lost in a podcast about dinosaurs. I crossed my arms, leaning against the door. "What? Therapy breakthroughs? How the knife missed." His face crumpled, rain mingling with something wetter. "Every night, I see it. Your blood on my hands." I was drowning jealousy, the bottle, feeling like you'd outgrow me. "But losing you, Alex, that's the real death." Words I'd scripted in anger softened at the edges. His voice held the gravel of amends I'd once craved. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. Just space to be better." For him, I glanced at the rear view, Alex's reflection serene. "You're on thin ice, Brandon. One slip, and it's gone." He nodded, stepping back as thunder grumbled approval. Driving home, wipers slashing the downpour, I wrestled the thaw in my chest. Romance's embers, banked but not dead, dangerous, intoxicating. Holiday lights twinkled early that year, stringing the Castro in defiant cheer. Alex begged for a tree-trimming party. Just us three, and I caved, rationalizing it as co-parenting. Brandon showed with a pizza box and ornaments from our old life, the glittery star we'd bought in Chinatown, now dented but defiant. As we hung it atop the pine, Alex between us on a stool, the room warmed with pine sap and mozzarella, laughter bridging gaps. Later, tucking Alex in, he yawned, "This is the best Christmas ever." Like a team again, alone in the kitchen, Brandon washed dishes while I dried, elbows brushing in domestic echo. "He's magic, isn't he?" Brandon said softly, suds dripping. Our fingers touched over a plate, electric, unintended. I pulled away, but not before the spark ignited memories. Slow dances in dim light, promises whispered in the dark. That night, as snow, rare for the city, dusted the windows, I dreamed of alleys turned boulevards, knives into keys. Awakening to Alex's giggles downstairs, Brandon flipping pancakes with exaggerated flips, I wondered if redemption was a path we could all walk. But dawn brought clarity, trust, once shattered, rebuild slow. And in the recesses, betrayal's echo lingered, waiting for its cue. Winter gripped San Francisco like a reluctant lover, fog thick as unresolved sins, turning familiar streets into labyrinths of what-ifs. The visits evolved into something perilously close to routine. School pickups where Brandon waited curbside with a soccer ball, dinners at Ticarius where Alex mediated with rapid-fire questions about Brandon's cool jobs. I played gatekeeper, hovering at table's edge, but the walls I'd built showed fissures, cracks where old affections seeped, warm and treacherous. It was mid-January when the conflict crested, sharp as a Lombard Street switchback. I'd been pulling late nights on a rush project for a nonprofit queer youth outreach, ironic armor against my past. Alex was with Brandon for a mentor night at the rec center, their ritual of dodgeball and hot cocoa. My phone lit up at 9 p.m., a text from an unknown number. "Meet me. The Mint." Now, the old bar loomed in the Castro, the sign flickering like a heartbeat. I shouldn't have gone. Every instinct screamed trap, but curiosity, or maybe masochism, propelled me through the door. The place hadn't changed. Sticky floors, jukebox crooning Springsteen, patrons nursing drafts under rainbow pride flags faded to pastels. Brandon sat in our corner booth, a lone beer sweating before him, untouched. You rang. I slid in opposite, arms crossed like shields. His eyes, shadowed by the low light, held a storm I'd recognize blind. Sit. Please. No pleasantries, he dove straight. I'm moving back. Got a sponsor for a garage in the outer sunset. Fixing Harleys. Steady pay. I want in, Nick. Full time. For Alex. For us. The air punched from my lungs. The word dangled like bait on a hook. You're delusional. One good month doesn't erase the blood. I kept my voice low, but venom laced it. He leaned forward, elbows on scarred wood. I know. God, I know. But look at him with me. He lights up. Asks about you nonstop. Wants stories of when we were heroes. He's choosing this. Nick. Choosing me. Rage flared. Hot and righteous. He's 5. Kids choose ice cream over broccoli too. Doesn't make it healthy. The bar noise swelled. A drag queen's cackle. Glasses clinking, but it muffled nothing. Brandon's jaw set. The old fire kindling. You think you're the saint? Hoarding him like a trophy. Dating those tech bros on the sly? I see the apps. Nick. Swiping for someone to play house without the mess. That hit low. A betrayal unearthed. Yeah. I dipped a toe. Coffee with an architect named Theo, whose easy smile promised no shadows. Harmless reconnaissance. Or so I'd lied to myself. But Brandon knowing? Spying? The booth closed in. You crossed a line. I hissed. Standing. Stalking my phone now? This ends. Visits stop. Now. He surged up. Chair scraping. You can't. He's my son too. A hand clamped my arm. Grip iron from garage calloused palms. Instinct kicked. I yanked free, shoving him back. The bar hushed. Ice turning. Get off me. I snarled. The alley flashing, knives gleam. Breath ragged. Brandon froze. Hands up in surrender. Face ashen. Nick. Shit. I'm sorry. Again. I stormed out. Cold air slapping sense into me. The drive home blurred through tears. Radio silent. Alex was asleep when I got there. Marcus having dropped him off. Brandon's brother, ever the buffer. Curled under dinosaur sheets. Thumb in mouth. He murmured in sleep. Team. Heroes. I sank beside the bed. Forehead to mattress. Sobs racking silent. What right did I have to sever this? When his happiness bloomed in stolen moments. The fallout cascaded. I enforced the cutoff. No calls. No parks. School alerts for unauthorized pickups. Alex wilted like a flower sans sun. Tantrums at bedtime. Drawings slashed with angry red. Why can't I see Bwandon? Did he do bad? I'd rock him. Spinning tales of timeouts for grown-ups. But the questions piled, eroding my resolve. Therapy unearthed the rot. My fear wasn't just Brandon's rage, but my own heart's treason. In quiet hours, I catch myself smiling at memories. Not the violence, but the velvet nights. his fingers tracing my spine like Braille love letters. Gay love in America, I'd learned, was a battlefield. Pride parades masking quiet despairs, apps connecting souls only to ghost them. We'd been real once, raw and radiant. Could we be again? Marcus brokered the truce, over coffee at a No Valley cafe fragrant with scones. He's a mess, he admitted, stirring sugar into black. Won't eat. Holes in walls from punching. But it's guilt, not anger. Loves you both fierce. I traced the mug's rim, steam curling like doubts. And if he snaps, I can't risk Alex. Then don't. Supervised. Structured. Family counseling, there's a queer-friendly clinic in the Castro. Let a pro referee. His eyes, so like Brandon's but steadier, held plea. For Alex, I agreed. Sessions started. A circle of mismatched chairs in a sunlit office. Dr. Reyes, a Latina dyke with a noble shit vibe, guiding us through minefields. First meeting, tension crackled. Brandon fidgeted, knee bouncing, I perched rigid. Alex, between us, clutched stuffed dragons like talismans. Why are we here? He piped, voice small. Dr. Reyes smiled. To build a stronger castle. With better bricks, we unpacked the alley. Not the gore, but the grief. Brandon spoke first. Voice gravel. I was scared. Of losing the only good thing I'd touched. Hurt the man I loved most. Tears tracked his cheeks. Alex patted his knee, unjudging. My turn came halting. The terror, the therapy marathons, the solo parenting grind. I built walls to protect us. But they boxed you out too. Kiddo. Alex nodded solemnly. I like castles. But ones with doors. Laughter broke. Tentative. And in that crack, connection flickered. Spring unfurled petals across the city. Cherry blossoms dusting alleys like confetti. Visits resumed. Laced with counsel. Game nights at neutral venues. Brandon reading bedtime epics over video. Romance simmered unspoken. Glances lingering over Alex's head. Brushes of hands that zinged like live wires. One evening, post-picnic in the Presidio, Alex conked out on a blanket, head in my lap. Brandon sat close, sunset gilding his profile. He's incredible, he whispered, voice hushed reverence. You did this. Made him shine. I met his gaze, vulnerability a chasm. We did. Before. Everything. Silence stretched. Charged. His hand found mine. Tentative. Can we try? Not for show. For real. Heart pounding. I didn't pull away. Slow. Like thawing. That kiss soft. Exploratory under eucalyptus shade was resurrection. Not fireworks, but embers rekindled, warm against winter's ghost. Alex stirred, mumbling, and we parted, but the promise lingered, sweet as fog-kissed dawn. Yet betrayal's shadow loomed, patient. Whispers from the rec center reached me. Brandon's sponsor pulling strings for the garage gig. Questions about his stable home life. Stability, with our patchwork. Doubt gnawed. But love, fierce, foolish pushed back. For Alex, who'd chosen hearts over history, I dared believe. Summer crashed in like a Mission Street parade. Heat waves shimmering off asphalt. Pride flags snapping in salty gusts. Our rebuilt world teetered on hope's tightrope. Brandon bunked with Marcus in a Bernal Heights flat. Garage apprenticeship humming with oil and opportunity. Family therapy morphed into co-parenting blueprints. Calendars synced. Holidays divvied like precious or... Alex orchestrated it all. His laughter the glue binding fractures. Romance bloomed covert. A secret garden amid the chaos. Stolen coffees at Tartine, where croissants flaked like whispered confessions. Walks along ocean beach at dusk. Waves crashing applause to tentative handholds. Brandon had changed. Tattoos faded under sun. Temper banked by meetings and meds. "You're my anchor," he'd murmur, lips brushing my temple, evoking the boy who'd danced me dizzy under disco lights. But paradise in San Francisco comes barbed. The betrayal erupted on a sweltering July 4th, fireworks already popping in distant previews. We'd planned a backyard bash at Marcus's, grill smoke, potato salad, Alex in star-spangled goggles waving sparklers. I arrived early, arms laden with coolers, to find Brandon hunched on the porch steps, phone clutched like a grenade. "What's wrong?" I set down the ice, dread pooling. He looked up, face carved hollow. "It's nothing. Sponsor stuff, like plain as the foghorns bang." Pressed, gentle but firm. "Talk to me. We're past secrets." Sigh escaped him, ragged. "Remember Elena? From Reno?" The name landed like a gut punch. His ex, Prius, a ghost-eyed banished. "She showed up last week. With a kid. Says it's mine." The world tilted. Grills sizzle mocking from afar. Elena, wild child artist he'd mourned once, over bourbon and regrets. DNA test pending, he rushed. "But if..." "Shit. Nick. I didn't know." Betrayal. Fresh and flaying, not violence this time, but erasure. Our history, Alex's fragile triad, threatened by a phantom family across state lines. "You came back for us?" I said, voice steel fraying. "Or was it just convenient absolution?" He stood, hands raking hair. "No, this changes nothing. I chose you, us, every day, but doubt's venom spread, questions multiplying like hydra heads. Was his tenderness strategy? Redemption's prop?" I fled inside, pasting smiles for Alex's sake. Fireworks bursting overhead like ironic cheers. The next days blurred in isolation. I ghosted calls, buried in deadlines. Alex's puzzled, "Where's Bwandon?" A knife twist. Therapy solo, DR. Reyes probing the wound. "Betrayal's echo," she said, "amplifies old fears. But truth, it's his to own." I nodded, but sleep evaded. Dreams replaying the alley's glint, now overlaid with a child's cry, Elena's ghost son, stealing our light. Confrontation came midweek. Brandon at my door after dark, rain-slicked and desperate. "Tests negative," he blurted. Papers thrust forward, lab results. Ink stark. False alarm. She lied for money, tension. Who knows? Relief crashed. Then suspicion. Why hide it? We vowed transparency. His shoulders slumped. Defeat etching lines. Scared you'd bolt. Like I deserved. We talked till dawn on the living room rug. Coffee cold. Truth spilling, his Reno isolation. Elena's plea a siren call to old chaos. "I almost went," he admitted, voice breaking. "But your face," Alex's laugh, pulled me back, vulnerability disarmed. I saw the man, not the monster. Forgiveness, tentative, flowered. "Prove it," I whispered, pulling him close. Every day, reconciliation deepened, roots seeking soil. August brought a road trip, us three piled in Brandon's beat-up truck, winding Highway 1 to Big Sur. Redwoods towered like ancient guardians, ocean crashing hymns. Alex hooped at cliffside vistas. We're pirates now. Brandon at the wheel, hand on my thigh, eyes alight with reclaimed joy. Nights in canvas tents, stars pricking the canopy. We made love slow and sacred, bodies remembering rhythms, whispers vowing forever. Back in the city, life layered richer. Brandon's garage thriving, custom bikes gleaming for queer riders, handlebars etched with pride symbols. I pitched a design series for the shop, our talents entwining like fingers. Alex started soccer, Brandon coaching his league, me on the sidelines with thermoses and cheers. Pride that year felt personal, marching hand in hand, Alex on shoulders, rainbow face paint smearing as we kissed under confetti storms. Yet climax brewed, inevitable as tide. September's equinox shadowed with omens. Marcus called, voice tight. Elena's not done. Talking lawsuits, paternity fraud, claims he owes back support. Panic surged, we'd thought it buried. Brandon raged in the garage, wrench clanging against steel. She wants to bleed me dry, calmed him, but fear gnawed. Court battles, custody probes, our patchwork family under microscope. The hearing loomed, a tenderloin courthouse sterile as judgment. We lawyered up, statements polished, Brandon's growth, our stable home. Elena appeared, gaunt and glaring, her son absent, prop in her narrative. Testimony dragged, her tales of abandonment, our counter of deception. Alex waited outside with Marcus, crayons scribbling team forever. Judge's gavel fell merciful, claims dismissed, restraining order on her. Elation flooded the hall. Brandon crushed me in hug, Alex piling on in joyful scrum. We won, the boy crowed, oblivious to depths. But victory tasted bittersweet. Betrayal's scar tissue stretched thin, reminding fragility. Fall leaves skittered like warnings as we healed. Counseling evolved to couples work, Brandon and I, excavating romance's ruins. I tried to kill the best part of me, he confessed one session, tears carving paths. You survived. Taught me grace. I forgave aloud. Word sacrament. Love isn't perfect. It's persistent. Humanity wove through. Community barbecues where neighbors toasted second chances. Alex's school play casting us as space dads, saving the galaxy. Brandon mentored a shy teammate, echoing his path, proof cycles break. Yet emotion crested in quiet. A November eve, fog cloaking the bay. Us three on the fire escape, hot cider steaming. Alex leaned on Brandon's shoulder. You're my dad's. Both, heart full. I watched them, killer turned kin, chosen in love's alchemy. But whispers persisted, Elena's appeals, shadows of doubt. As Thanksgiving approached, I pondered the arc, from blade's edge to hearth's glow. Redemption, a daily forge, hammered in small acts. For Alex, who'd bridged chasms with a child's unyielding heart, we'd endure. Thanksgiving dawned crisp, the city exhaling summer's haze for autumn's honest bite. Our table groaned under Marcus's turducken experiment and my green bean casserole, a nod to Midwestern ghosts. Alex bounced in booster seat, pilgrim hat askew, regaling with turkey puns pilfered from school. Brandon carved the bird with surgeon's care, Eyes meeting mine across steam. Gratitude unspoken. Profound. Post-feast stupor settled. Football on TV. Alex dozing on couch amid pie crumbs. Brandon and I slipped to the balcony. City lights winking below like conspirators. 1 year, he murmured, arm around my waist. From that alley to this. Feels like fiction. I leaned in, his warmth chasing chill. Best kind hours. Lips met. Soft affirmation. The world shrinking to us. Winter holidays twinkled promise. Tree lot hunts where Alex demanded the tallest. Ornaments unpacked like time capsules. Brandon strung lights with precision. Me blasting Mariah for carols. Gifts wrapped in newsprint comics. Practical for Brandon. Sketchpads. Whimsical for Alex. A telescope for stargazing dads. Christmas Eve. Under twinkles. Alex piped. This is forever. Right? We chorused yes. Throats tight. Sealing vows in cocoa mugs. But by kitsch's undercurrent stirred. Subtle as seismic rumbles. Elena's shadow resurfaced in January. A letter from her lawyer. Veiled threats of appeals. Dredging old lies. Brandon hardened. Nights pacing. Sobriety tested by stress. She won't stop, he growled over breakfast. Fists clenched. Alex picked up vibes. Withdrawing into shells, grades dipping. Nightmares of bad ladies taking Bwandon. We fortified. More therapy. Family nights with board games and boundaries. I mediated. Voice steady anchor. We're solid, kiddo. Like the bridge, winds come, but we stand. Yet internally, cracks widened. Doubt crept. Was love enough against relentless past? One February night. Post-argument. Brandon snapping at a delayed dinner. I slept alone, staring at ceiling shadows. Allie's echo taunting. Climax shattered on a rain-lashed March evening. Alex's soccer game. Under floodlights slick with downpour. Brandon coached from sidelines. Whistles shrill. When Elena materialized, umbrella like a shield, flanked by a private eye-type. Hail! She shrieked, voice slicing turf. You think you can erase me? Chaos erupted. Parents murmuring. Alex freezing mid-dribble. Ball forgotten. Brandon paled. Striding toward her. Me barreling after. Leave. Now, he barked. Body shielding field. She thrust papers, forged docs claiming residency. Demanding supervised access to Alex as aunt. Lies. Blatant, but venomous. He's family, she spat. You stole mine. The PI loomed. But cops, alerted by league security, swarmed, cuffing her amid flashes and shouts. Alex crumpled, sobbing in my arms as sirens wailed. Why's she mean? Heart shattering. I rocked him. Some people hurt, 'cause they're hurt. But we're safe. Brandon joined. Trio huddle against the storm. Rain mingling tears. Elena hauled away. Case later crumbled in court. Fraud exposed. Her sentence to counseling. Victory. Pyrrhic. Scars reopened. Trust's fabric frayed. Healing demanded reckoning. April bloomed reluctant. Us retreating to basics. Park picnic sans pressure. Therapy marathons unpacking Elena's ghost as mirror to our demons. Brandon dove deeper, sponsoring NA meetings. Journaling rages into art. Sketched knives morphing to doves. I forgave layers. Unpeeling resentment to reveal core love. Flawed. Fierce. Alex's resilience shone. Art therapy birthing murals of strong teams. Nightmares fading to dreams of flights. I choose you both, he declared one sunny morn, hands in ours at Baker Beach. Waves lapped approval, seals barking chorus. In that circle, humanistic truth crystallized. Family isn't blood or perfection, but choice daily, defiant. Spring yielded to summer's embrace, our rhythm restored, richer for tempests. Pride again, bolder. Brandon on a float, wrench raised like scepter, me snapping pics, Alex waving flags. Garage thrived, community hub for out queer mechanics, mentorships echoing his path. We married quietly in City Hall, June sun gilding vows, rings simple bands, engraved persisted. Years folded forward. Alex grew, teen now, lanky with braces, out and proud, dating a drummer from school band. You guys are goals, he'd tease over dinner, eyes twinkling like his father's. Betrayals? Distant thunder, lessons in grace. Brandon, silver threading temples, fixed my bike one dusk, grease-streaked grin unchanged. Still yours, Nick. Always. On our 10th rebirth anniversary, the alley's date, we returned. Not to shadows, but the spot reimagined as a mural alley, vibrant with queer icons. Alex, taller than me now, sprayed a heart, chosen love. We stood, arms linked, fog lifting to stars. No hooks or blades, just us, woven human, loving through the storm. In America's vast tapestry, where rainbows arch over scars, our story whispered, redemption isn't erasure, but embrace. The man who tried to end me became the heart my son chose, and in choosing back, we all found home.